The question in the market. The alien marketplace was alive with sound and color. Voices rose in a dozen languages. Stalls stretched down the narrow streets with bright cloth roofs, and the air was heavy with the smell of roasted fruit, metal oil, and alien spices. Humans were rare in this part of the city, so when a tall man in simple clothes walked through the crowd, heads turned, some looked with curiosity, others with suspicion. He carried no weapons, only a pack over his shoulder. But what drew the most attention was not his face or his height. It was the faint shimmer of silver on his hand, a ring that glowed softly in the light. The man moved, calmly, buying bread from a vendor, offering credits. His voice was quiet, his eyes tired but steady. To most, it was just another day, yet for one pair of eyes in the crowd, it was not. An elderly alien woman stood frozen near a fruit stall, her skin wrinkled with age, her eyes pale and deep with memory. She stared at the ring on the human's finger as if she had seen a ghost. Her hands trembled and the fruit she held slipped from her grip, rolling into the dust. The human bent down, picked it up, and offered it back with a small smile. "You dropped this," he said softly, his voice carrying kindness. But the woman did not take the fruit. Her eyes were fixed only on his hand. "Where?" Her voice broke, rough with years and sorrow. "Where did you get that ring?" The human blinked, confused. He looked at his hand as if noticing the silver band for the first time. The glow was faint, but steady. "This? It was given to me a long time ago," he answered, unsure why her voice shook like that. Her legs weakened, she nearly collapsed. The vendor behind her caught her arm, whispering in concern. But she pushed him away, her voice now louder, though still trembling. "No, not possible, that ring. It cannot be here, not on a human." The crowd stirred, whispers spread quickly. Market-goers craned their necks to see. "What ring is she speaking of?" Some asked, "It looks like an old design." Others muttered, "Why is it glowing?" The human shifted uncomfortably. Too many eyes now on him, he pulled his hand back, trying to cover it. But the old woman stepped closer, her face pale, her breathing shallow. She lifted a trembling hand, almost touching the ring, then pulling, back in fear. "That ring was lost," she whispered. "It belonged to someone who should not have given it away. It was buried with fire and blood. It was meant never to return." Her eyes filled with tears. "And yet, you stand here wearing it." The human frowned. Memories flickered in his mind. A night of burning ships, a battlefield lit with smoke and fire, and a dying figure pressing the ring into his palm, telling him, "Keep it safe." His heart tightened, but he said nothing. Around them, the marketplace grew quieter. Merchants no longer shouted, buyers no longer bargained. All eyes rested on the human and the old woman. Suspense hung in the air. "Answer me," she demanded, her frail voice sharp, now cutting through the silence. "Where did you get it?" The human's jaw tightened. He glanced at the crowd, then back at her. He had lived years trying to keep the story hidden, but here, in this alien market, under so many eyes, the secret was pressing against him like a heavy stone. "I told you," he said, his tone steady but heavy with memory. "It was given to me by someone who trusted me when no one else would." The old woman staggered back, her hands covering her mouth, her body shaking. "No," she whispered. "It cannot be true, it cannot." Her tears slipped down her wrinkled cheeks. The crowd gasped. Some whispered old words, names of legends that had been forgotten. Others crossed their arms in signs of protection. Mothers pulled children closer. Fear filled the air. The human looked at them, then at the old woman. His heart beat faster. He felt the ring grow warm on his finger, almost alive, as if it knew it had been recognized. The old woman's voice broke the silence once more, softer now, almost pleading. "Human, do you know what you carry?" The man said nothing. His eyes lowered, his silence more frightening than words. The crowd waited, breath held, as if the entire market had frozen in time. The ring shimmered. The old woman's eyes shone with both dread and desperate hope, and in that moment everyone knew. This was not the beginning of a trade, not the beginning of a story told for coins and laughter. This was the beginning of something much older. much heavier and far more dangerous. The memory awakes. The old woman's cry echoed in the market. Her words had stirred something dangerous. Her trembling body leaned against the fruit stall, yet her eyes never left the ring on the human's finger. People gathered closer, curiosity turning into fear. The glow of the ring seemed brighter now, not like metal, but like a living flame that refused to die. The human shifted uneasily. He did not like attention. For years he had walked quietly through alien worlds, keeping to himself, working in silence, never speaking of the night that changed everything. But now the secret he carried burned on his hand for all to see. The old woman whispered again, almost to herself. The ring of Valari, the mark of the first guardian. Her lips trembled. I never thought I would live long enough to see it again. The human frowned. The name meant nothing to him, yet her voice shook with the weight of centuries. A boy in the crowd asked his mother, "What is the ring of Valari?" The mother quickly covered his mouth and pulled him close, as if even speaking the name was forbidden. The woman straightened slowly, her frail body tense with both fear and reverence. "That ring," she said louder, her eyes locking on the human, was lost when the last guardian fell, when the cities burned and the skies turned red. She paused, her voice breaking. It should have perished with him. Yet here you stand, wearing it. The human's heart clenched, images of smoke and blood rushed into his mind. He saw again the alien soldier lying broken among ruins, pressing the silver band into his hand, whispering words he did not understand. Only the urgency of the gesture, the weight of trust. I don't know about guardians, the human said finally, his voice low. I only know a dying man gave this to me and begged me to protect it. The crowd gasped. The old woman staggered, her breath caught in her throat. A dying man, she repeated. Then it is true. He survived long enough to pass it on. Tears welled in her eyes. All these years we thought the line was broken. We thought hope had ended. She gripped the edge of the stall to steady herself, her voice trembling. That ring does not belong to just anyone. It chooses, it binds itself to the one who must carry it. Her eyes narrowed. And it chose you, a human. The human shook his head, frustration in his voice. I didn't choose it. I didn't want it. It was forced on me. He held out his hand, the silver glowing faintly. This ring has brought me nothing but trouble. A silence fell, but the old woman smiled faintly, though her face was wet with tears. That is the way of the chosen. The burden is never asked for. It is given. The crowd began to murmur. Again, whispers turning into waves of fear. If the ring has returned, the prophecies are near, said one. The watchers will come, another muttered. No, it cannot be true, a third argued, but their voices carried panic. The human's eyes darted across the market. Strangers stared at him with a mixture of awe and suspicion. He could feel the danger building. The woman leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper now, only for him. You must leave this place. You must hide. The ring's light will draw them. They will hunt you. Who? Will? He asked sharply, his voice cutting through the noise, her pale eyes filled with dread. The keepers of the ashes, those who swore to destroy all who bore that mark, they failed once. But if they learn you live, they will not fail again. The man clenched his jaw, his hand tightening around the strap of his pack. He had felt hunted before. Shadows watching him across worlds. Soldiers searching through refugee camps. But now he understood why. The ring was not a trinket, not a relic. It was a beacon. Memories flooded him. He remembered the night he found it more clearly now, or rather the night it found him. He had been younger, wounded, crawling through the ruins of a city not his own, flames tearing across broken towers, alien voices shouting in the distance. Then he saw him, an alien warrior, chest torn by fire, barely breathing. His hand clutched a silver band that pulsed with light. The warrior's eyes had locked on his, not with hatred, but with strange recognition. You are not of us, the alien had whispered in a broken tongue. Yet you will carry it. Before the human could protest, the alien pressed the ring into his palm, his final breath leaving him, his body falling still. That moment had never left him. He had carried the ring ever since, never knowing its meaning, until now the old woman's voice broke his memory. "The ring remembers, and now so do you," she said softly, as if she too could see the fire in his eyes. The market felt smaller, the air heavier, the whispers louder. People stepped back from him, as if fearing the curse of the ring would fall on them too. The human breathed deeply, the weight of years pressing down on him. His voice came out quiet, but firm. "If what you say is true, then I carry something that was never meant for me." The woman shook her head. "No, you carry it because it was always meant for you. The ring does not make mistakes." Her words left the crowd in stunned silence. The human stared at her, anger and fear battling in his chest, but also something else, something like destiny scratching at the edges of his soul. And in that moment, as the sun dipped lower in the alien sky, the glow of the ring brightened once more, and the memory that had slept in shadows awoke fully. The hidden past. The market was restless. Whispers spread like fire through dry grass. Some feared the ring, some wanted to touch it. Others wanted the human gone, yet no one dared step too close. The old woman's trembling voice had already given the ring a name, and with that name came fear. The human stood still, his eyes sharp, his body tense. He could feel the weight of the ring pressing into him like a chain, the glow faint, but steady. It was not just metal anymore. It was a story alive on his hand. He looked at the old woman, her frail frame shaking, but her eyes burning with memory. "Tell me," he demanded quietly. "What do you know about this ring, about the one who gave it to me?" Her lips parted, and for a moment she looked younger, as if memory had pulled her back to another time. "The Guardian," she whispered. "He was not only a soldier, he was the last of his line, sworn to keep the light of Valari from falling into darkness." Her voice cracked. "When the skies burned, when our cities fell, he vanished. We believed him dead, and with him the hope of our people." The human's chest tightened. He remembered that night clearly now, the alien's eyes staring into his before fading away. He had thought it was just chance, a desperate man handing over a relic, but no, it was more than that. "He gave it to me," the human said, his voice low but steady, "because he knew he couldn't carry it any longer." He paused, looking around at the watching faces. "But I am not one of you. I don't even understand what it means." The woman shook her head slowly. "You do not need to understand. The ring understands you." She reached a trembling hand toward his, stopping inches away, afraid to touch. "It chose you because you were not of us, because only an outsider could walk the path no one else could." The words struck him like cold steel. Chosen, outsider. He wanted to reject it, to throw the ring into the dust and walk away, but his hand would not move. The ring clung to him as if part of his own skin. The crowd shifted nervously, and from the edge of the market, shadowed figures moved closer, tall, armored aliens with dark eyes, their armor marked with symbols of ash and fire. The murmurs grew louder. Someone whispered, "The Keepers, they have seen it." The human's body tensed. He recognized those symbols. He had seen them years before. Soldiers who burned villages searching for something, who killed without mercy. He had hidden then, survived by silence. Now he knew what. They had hunted. The old woman's voice dropped to a whisper. "You must leave now, before they see clearly." But it was too late. The Keepers had already fixed their gaze on him. He turned sharply, slipping into the narrow paths between the stalls. The crowd parted with fear. None dared block his way. The old woman stumbled after him, calling softly, "Wait! You don't know what you carry. You don't know the danger." The human moved quickly, his boots striking the stone path, his hand clenched in a fist, his mind pulled back into memories he had buried for years. He remembered faces, screams, flames, when the Keepers first appeared on his world, demanding the ring, searching every camp, every ruin. When they found nothing, they killed and burned. He had not understood then, but now it made sense. The hidden past was not just theirs. It was his too. He stopped in a quiet corner, the old woman finally catching up. her breath ragged. "You cannot outrun it," she said, her voice harsh. "Wherever you go, they will follow. The ring cannot be hidden, its light always calls." The human looked at her sharply. "Then tell me everything. If I am already hunted, I need to know why." She swallowed hard, then nodded slowly, her eyes heavy with secrets. Long ago, before humans ever touched the stars, the Valari forged a bond with the Guardians, warriors chosen to keep balance. The ring was their seal, their weapon, their truth. She paused, her lips trembling. But when the war came, when betrayal poisoned our skies, the Guardians were slaughtered, the ring lost in fire. Her eyes locked on his. "Until you found it." Her words pressed down on him. Heavy with history, his voice was quiet but sharp. "No, I didn't find it," he said. "It found me, it was forced on me, and I have carried its shadow ever since." The old woman nodded slowly. "That is the hidden past. The Guardians never passed their burden willingly. It was always given at the moment of death, always carried by one who did not ask for it, always leading to destiny." The human felt the truth in her words. The memory of the dying alien pressing the ring into his palm burned like fire in his chest. But before he could speak again, a shout rose from behind them. Armored footsteps pounded the stone. The keepers had found them, their black armor gleaming, their weapons ready, their voices harsh. "The ring-bearer, surrender him." The human's heart pounded. The ring grew hotter, its glow brightening. The old woman's face filled with fear, but also with something else. "Hope. Run," she whispered, her voice urgent. "The hidden past is awake now, and your choice will decide if it becomes our future." The man gritted his teeth, his hand tightening into a fist, and for the first time, he felt the ring pulse in rhythm with his own heartbeat, as if it were alive, waiting for him to decide. The gathering storm. The footsteps grew louder, armored boots striking the stone roads like drums of war. The keepers were closing in, their black armor reflecting the pale light, their weapons already glowing with deadly charge. The human stood frozen for a heartbeat, his hand clenched, the silver ring pulsing against his skin. The old woman grabbed his arm with trembling fingers, her voice a desperate whisper. "You must not be caught. If they take the ring, it will mean the end of everything." He glanced at her, then at the narrow streets around them, crowded with stalls and frightened faces. Running would bring panic, fighting would bring blood. But he could already feel the storm gathering. There was no safe choice left. The keepers shouted, their harsh voices cutting through the market air. "Surrender the human, surrender the ring." The crowd scattered like frightened birds. Mothers pulled children into alleys. Merchants slammed shut their stalls. The once noisy market now filled. With silence broken only by fear, the human stepped back slowly, his jaw tight, his mind racing. He had faced danger before, but this felt different. The ring was alive now, its glow stronger, its heat pressing into his bones, as if it too sensed the storm coming. The old woman leaned close, whispering quickly. The Guardians swore the ring would never fall into their hands. They would rather die. You must choose the same. Run if you can, fight if you must, but do not let them touch it. The human's eyes locked on the approaching figures, their dark cloaks trailing like shadows. The leader raised a hand, signaling. The others to spread, cutting off every path. "The bearer has no place to run," the leader called, his voice cold and certain. "The light belongs to us. Hand it over and your death will be swift." The human's lips curled in a bitter smile, his voice calm but sharp. "If it belonged to you, you would already have it." The crowd gasped at his defiance. The keeper's leader's eyes narrowed, hatred flashing across his face. "Then, you have chosen death," he said, his hand dropping in signal. The soldiers moved forward, their weapons aimed. The old woman cried out, her frail body stepping in front of the human, arms wide. "No!" she shouted, her voice breaking. "You will not take him. You will not take the ring." The soldiers paused for a breath, surprised at her courage. But their leader sneered, "Old fool, your time has passed. Step aside." Her voice cracked, but her eyes were steel. "I saw the Guardians fall. I saw the cities burn. I will not see the last light stolen by cowards who betrayed us." The keepers moved again, ignoring her words, and the human felt his blood surge, something inside him snapping. The ring blazed, its glow so bright it lit the stones at his feet. The soldiers faltered, their eyes widening in shock. The human raised his hand without thinking, and the ring answered. A wave of light burst out, striking the ground with a sound like thunder. The market shook. Dust rose in the air. The soldiers stumbled back, some falling to their knees. The old woman gasped, her eyes wide. "It has awakened," she whispered. "After all these years, it has chosen again." The human's chest heaved, his hand still burning with light, his voice rough. "I didn't ask for this," the leader of the keepers snarled, recovering quickly. "It matters not, power or no power, you cannot stand against us," he signaled again, and more soldiers pushed into the market, their shadows filling every exit. The storm had truly gathered. There was no way out, not without blood. The old woman's hand gripped his sleeve, her voice desperate. "Listen to me. The ring will guide you. It remembers battles older than you. Trust it. Let it move you." The human shook his head, panic and anger swirling in his chest. "I am no warrior, I am no guardian." Her eyes burned into his. That is what every guardian once said before the ring made them more. The keepers closed in, their weapons humming, the leader raising his arm for the final order. The human felt his breath catch, the light from the ring wrapping around, his hand like fire, the old woman's words echoing in his mind. For a moment the world went quiet. No shouts, no boots, only the pounding of his heart and the whisper of the ring. A voice he could not understand, yet it pulled at him, urging him to act. When the soldiers lunged, the human moved not with thought but with instinct. His arm raised, the ring shone, and a barrier of light exploded outward, sending the nearest attackers crashing into walls, weapons scattering. The ground split with cracks. The storm unleashed. The market was chaos now, the crowd screaming, fleeing through alleys, the keepers shouting, regrouping, the old woman clutching her chest as tears ran down her face. "It has begun," she whispered. "The storm we feared, the storm we prayed for." The human stood in the middle of it all, chest rising and falling. The ring, glowing like a second heart on his hand. He had never felt so powerless and yet so powerful at the same time. The hidden past was no longer hidden. The gathering storm was here, and it had chosen him as its center. The choice of truth. The market was shaking with fear. Smoke still rose from the cracks where the ring's light had struck. The soldiers who had charged first now lay scattered, groaning, their weapons dimmed, but the storm was far from over. The leader of the keepers stood tall, his black armor scorched but unbroken, his eyes burned with rage. "You think the ring makes you strong? Human," he spat, his voice carrying across the ruins of the market. "But strength without knowledge is nothing. You do not even know what you carry." The human's hand trembled, the glow of the ring pulsing like a second heartbeat. His chest rose and fell as he tried to control his breath, his voice low but firm. "I don't need to know everything to stop you." The soldiers tightened their circle, weapons humming again, sparks glowing along their blades. The crowd had already fled, leaving only broken stalls, overturned baskets, and the old woman who stood beside the human, her frail body trembling but her eyes fixed with stubborn fire. "Don't listen to him," she whispered quickly, clutching his arm. "The keepers live on lies. They killed the guardians. They burned our homes. They will say anything to break your will." But the leader smirked, stepping closer, his voice dripping with confidence. "And yet the truth is heavy, isn't it, human? Tell me, do you even know why the last guardian chose you? Or did you believe it was fate when in truth it was only desperation?" The words cut deep. The human's eyes narrowed, memories flashing again. Blood, fire, a dying warrior pressing the ring into his palm. No explanation, only trust. Only a desperate final act. The human's voice cracked slightly. "He gave it to me because he had no one else." The keeper laughed, the sound cruel and sharp. "Exactly. He was broken, abandoned, his brothers dead, his people gone. And in his weakness he gave away what was never meant for your kind." His voice grew louder, echoing off the broken stones. "The ring is wasted on you." The old woman's voice rose, sharp as a blade. "Lies. she shouted, her frail body shaking. The ring does not pass by chance, it does not cling to the unworthy. If it stayed on his hand, it is because it chose him. She pointed at the human, her eyes wet with tears. It saw what you fear most. It saw truth. The soldiers stirred uneasily, some glancing at each other, her words striking something old within them. The human swallowed hard, his thoughts a storm. Was he truly chosen, or only a vessel of chance? A desperate mistake carried. Through years his hand burned with heat, the ring waiting for his decision. The keeper sneered, his voice cutting through the doubt. Look at yourself, a wanderer, a drifter with no name in the stars, no blood of guardians, no legacy. You are nothing, and nothing cannot hold destiny. The human raised his head slowly, his eyes locked on the keeper, his voice steady now, calm like stone. You are wrong, he said. I may be nothing in your eyes, but I am alive. I carry it, and I will not let it fall to you. The ring flared, light bursting outward in answer to his words, the ground beneath him glowing with ancient markings. The old woman gasped, her hands clasped to her chest. The vow, she whispered. He has spoken the vow. The keeper staggered back slightly, his confidence shaken, but his anger only grew. Fool, he hissed. Then you choose to die as the guardians died. He raised his blade, signaling the soldiers again. The human's body tensed, but the fear inside him had shifted. He no longer ran from the truth. He had chosen it, whether by fate or by chance. He would carry it. He would fight. The old woman stepped beside him, her voice strong despite her frailty. The guardians were not defeated by death. Their light lived on, and now it burns in him. The soldiers hesitated, their blades wavering, the air thick with the weight of truth and lies, destiny, and fear. The market held its breath. The keeper roared, breaking the silence. Kill him, they charged. But the human moved faster, his hand raised, the ring blazing. Not just light this time, but power shaped by will. A shield burst outward, stopping blades inches from his flesh, sparks flying. The soldiers pushed, but the shield held. The human's teeth gritted, his voice like thunder. I did not ask for this, he growled. But I will not let you take it. The soldiers staggered back as the shield exploded into shards of light, throwing them aside. The keeper himself stumbled, his blade cracking against the stone, his eyes wide with shock. The old woman cried out, her voice breaking with awe. He has chosen. The ring answers him, not with fear, but with truth. The human stood in the smoke and dust, the ring glowing brighter than ever before, his breath heavy, his body trembling, yet his eyes clear. The choice was made, the truth accepted. He was no longer just a man carrying a burden. He was the bearer of the ring, and the storm was only beginning. The trial of the ring. The market lay in ruins. Smoke curled upward from broken stalls. Soldiers groaned on the ground where the ring's power had thrown them, and the crowd had fled into silence. Yet the storm was not over. It had only grown heavier. The keeper leader rose slowly from the dust, his black armor cracked, his blade scorched, his eyes wide with rage. You dare to defy us, human, he hissed, his voice raw. You wield a power you cannot control, and it will consume you. The human stood tall, though his chest heaved with exhaustion, his hand still glowing, the ring pulsing as if alive, his voice steady. Maybe I cannot control it yet, but it will never serve you. The old woman staggered to his side, her frail body leaning on a broken stall for support, her eyes shining with tears. The ring has awakened fully, she whispered. But awakening is not enough. It must be tested. It must face trial. The human turned sharply. Trial? What do you mean? Her eyes locked on his, steady despite her trembling hands. The ring will test your spirit. It will search your soul if you are truly its bearer. It will guide you, if you are not. Her voice broke. It will destroy you. The man's jaw tightened, the heat of the ring spreading through his arm. His breath caught in his throat. He felt the weight of her words sink deep. This was not just about survival against soldiers. This was about proving himself to something far older. The keeper sneered, his lips curling. Yes, let it test you. Let it burn you alive. Then we will take it from your ashes. He raised, his hand signaling his remaining soldiers to circle, their blades glowing again. But before they could strike, the ring pulsed, and the world shifted. The ground beneath the humans' feet vanished. The smoke and ruin of the market blurred away. He gasped as he stood suddenly in a place of endless light and shadow. He was alone, or so he thought, his hand still glowing with the ring, but around him stretched a vast hall of broken stone, floating pillars in a sea of void. Voices whispered all around, voices that were not his, voices ancient and heavy. Bearer, they echoed. You are not of the blood, yet you carry the flame. Prove yourself or perish. The human staggered, his voice sharp. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this trial. The whispers grew stronger, surrounding him. None ever wanted it. All were chosen by the fire of death. Now the fire burns in you. From the void, shapes emerged, warriors of light and shadow, towering figures with eyes like burning stars. Their voices thundered. Face us or be unmade. The human's heart pounded. Sweat beaded his brow. He raised his hand as the first figure charged, its blade a strike of fire. Instinct guided him. The ring flared and a shield appeared. Sparks flew as the blade struck, the shock throwing him backward but not breaking him. He gritted his teeth, pushing to his feet. If this is your trial, then I'll face it. His voice echoed in the void. I may not be a guardian, but I will not break. The warriors circled him, their voices deep. Strength is not enough. Truth is not enough. Will is all. They lunged together, blades of shadow slashing. He moved, faster than he thought possible. The ring guiding his arm, light cutting through the dark, every strike tearing at his body. But every strike survived. Memories flooded him, his childhood on a broken colony, the faces he lost, the fires he ran. From the dying alien pressing the ring into his hand, every failure, every fear, all crashing into him at once. The voices thundered again. What do you fight for? The human gasped, the question cutting deeper than any blade. His chest heaved, his mind screamed. What did he fight for? Survival? Truth? Hope? No, it was more. He saw the old woman's face, her tears, her hope. He saw the children in the market, pulled away in fear. He saw all those who had no weapon, no shield, no choice. His voice roared back at the shadows. I fight so they don't have to. I fight because someone must stand when no one else will. The ring blazed brighter than ever before, light pouring from it in waves. The shadows screamed, their forms burning away, the hall shaking, the void splitting with cracks of light. The voices whispered once more, softer now, almost reverent. You are not of the blood, but you are of the flame. You are chosen. The hall collapsed into light, and in a flash the human staggered back into the ruined market, his knees hitting the ground. His chest heaving, the old woman gasped, rushing to his side. You faced it, she whispered. And you returned. The keeper's eyes widened. He had seen it too. The glow in the human's eyes, the fire that was not of this world. His voice faltered for the first time. Impossible. A human passed the trial. The man rose slowly, his body weak but his eyes burning with new strength, the ring glowing steady and sure. He spoke quietly but with unshakable resolve. I am no guardian, but the ring chose me, and I will carry it. The old woman's tears fell freely, her voice breaking. Then hope lives again. The storm had tested him, and he had not broken. The trial of the ring was over, but the war it promised was only beginning. The answer that stunned her. The market lay broken, smoke drifting in the air like ghosts of what had been. Stalls crushed, fruit scattered, weapons cracked against stone, silence heavy after the storm of battle. The human stood in the center, his body weary, but the ring glowed steady on his hand. No longer wild, no longer uncertain. It was calm, alive, and sure. The old woman's eyes filled with both fear and awe as she looked at him. The keepers had fallen back. Some fled into alleys, Some lay unconscious on the ground, their leader knelt on one knee, armor cracked, his eyes wide with disbelief. A human, chosen by the ring, he muttered, his voice broken. This cannot be. The human stepped forward, his voice steady though his chest heaved with exhaustion. It doesn't matter what you believe, he said. The ring has made its choice. The leader spat into the dust, hatred twisting his face but fear still in his eyes. This is not over, he growled. Others will come, the ring has awakened, and the galaxy will see its fire again. He staggered to his feet, retreating into the shadows, his soldiers dragging him away. The old woman watched them vanish, her hands trembling. Then she turned back to the human, her voice soft but urgent. You must not ignore his words, he spoke truth even in anger. More will come. More will hunt you. The storm has only begun. The man nodded slowly, his gaze distant. He knew she was right. He had felt it in the trial. The ring's fire was not hidden anymore. It had called across the stars, and others would answer. Yet in that quiet moment, with the danger past for now, the old woman's eyes filled with something else. Pain, sorrow, and a question that had burned in her since the first moment she saw the ring. She stepped closer, her frail hands shaking, her voice breaking. Human, please tell me, where did you get it? Who gave it to you? The man's breath caught. The weight of memory pressed against him like stone. He had avoided this answer for years, but now, after the trial, after the storm, he could not hide it any longer. His eyes lowered, his voice slow and heavy. It was years ago during the war. I was nothing then, just a wanderer trying to survive. I found him in the ruins, wounded, dying. He paused, the images flashing. Fire in the sky, smoke choking the streets. A warrior broken on the ground. The old woman's hands clutched her chest, her heart pounding. Him? She whispered, her lips trembling. Who was he? The man lifted his gaze, his voice steady now, though sorrow weighed on every word. He pressed the ring into my hand, told me to keep it safe. His last breath was a vow I never understood. Until now. Her eyes filled with tears, her body trembling, her voice nearly a whisper. Tell me his face, describe him. The human's jaw tightened, but he spoke. His words slow, each one like a knife. Tall, silver eyes, his armor broken, a scar across his jaw, and when he spoke, even in pain, his voice carried strength. The old woman staggered back, her knees weakening, her tears spilling freely. She covered her mouth with her shaking hands. No. No. It cannot be. The human's heart sank. You knew him? He asked softly, her voice cracked, heavy with grief and disbelief. Kalen, she whispered. My husband. He was the last guardian. They told me he died in the fire. They told me he was gone forever, but you held his final breath. The words struck the human like thunder. His eyes widened, his chest tight. Your husband, he repeated, almost in shock. She nodded, her tears falling onto the dust. For years I wept at an empty grave. For years I prayed he might have found peace, and now I learn he lived long enough to give away the last light of Valari. To you. Her body shook, torn between grief and hope. And the ring accepted you. The silence that followed was heavy. Every broken stone seemed to listen. The human lowered his eyes, his voice quiet, almost ashamed. I could not save him. I was only there to carry what he gave me. I am sorry. But the old woman shook her head, her voice trembling. Do not be sorry. You gave me something no one else could, the truth. Her eyes lifted, filled with tears but also with a strange strength. He chose you, not by mistake but by faith, and now I see why. The human stood silently, the ring glowing between them, no longer just a burden but a bridge between past and present, between a dying guardian and the human who now carried his light. The old woman's tears fell like rain, but her voice grew stronger. Then it is true. The guardians are not gone. Their fire lives on and it burns in you. The man nodded slowly, his heart heavy but resolute. Then I will carry it. Not just for him, but for you, and for all who still believe. The old woman sank to her knees, bowing her head, her voice, breaking into a whisper. Then hope is not dead. It walks with you. And in that quiet, broken market, with smoke drifting above and ashes still warm, a truth had been spoken that stunned her, a truth that would echo far beyond those streets the last guardian had fallen. But his light had chosen a human to rise. The storm was far from over, but for the first time in years, she felt hope again.